flops, though, I haven't really looked too much into it. But if we're to go on to just price-wise, look at some players. I mean, I'm one of the only people that is sort of, well, I've seen 50% of people have him. I don't think Salah's going to be anywhere near last season's sort of goal, assist tally and points tally. And every time I say it, I just feel like the entire FPL world is just sort of, don't talk to him. He's a loony. He needs to have checks
Everybody
about
was subscribed to Kurt's channel. Go now.
I was just back on a roll. I just looked at my channel. I've got 322 left. Lost 4,000.
There are people all around the world pressing buttons now.
I think you just look at what a famous case for me is sort of a breakout season of someone you didn't expect to do that well. You look at Vardy, Premier League winning season, 24 goals, 8 assists. Next season, 13 goals, 8 assists. So it's not exactly going to be a fall from grace, a massive flop, but in terms of getting £13 million worth of productivity from him throughout the season, it's not going to be the same sort of Salah that was knocking in goals every week, hat tricks here and there. I just feel like there will still be goals, but
142 total shots, 111 of those inside the box last season. That's like he scored in pre-season. I got it here in 52 seconds of the second touch of the ball against Man City.
But it's all one. I think Liverpool had a fantastic season last season. Salah did, Firmino did, Mane did,
and they've only bolstered that team.
They have, but I think you go back to Leicester, they spent money. Granted, it's not exactly the same standard as Liverpool, but after they won the league, they spent money. But once teams learn how to play against them, so the counter-attacking style of using Mahrez effectively, really utilising Vardy's pace and agility to run around the pitch for 90 minutes and still look as if he's going to headbutt someone, as fresh as he was when he came out. Leicester had an appalling season, and I'm not saying Liverpool are going to be down the relegation zone. I just think they'll still be up in the top 4. I still think they'll finish top 4. But when teams learn to play against them, there'll be a lot of closer games. Because they won't be leaving themselves open for 5 and 6-1 hammerings, because they've taken the hammering once, they've taken the beating, they've conceded so many goals, they've been demoralised from it. That'll only make them want to defend against it more, and they'll look at the way Salah plays, the way Firmino will drop back, the way Mane will use his pace and agility. And maybe then teams will start to learn. I've just got a bad feeling. I've spent money on players before that have had good seasons and then not had good seasons. I just think Salah's slipping into that category. But I'll probably have him in my team from Game Week 1 anyway.
I've got a quick question, Kurt. Obviously, Liverpool have invested quite heavily this summer, and arguably people would say that it's a very, very good window for them. They've signed a lot of quality players. Do you think, from an FPL perspective, that could actually hinder Salah because he's not relied on as much for goals?
I think so. I think now they've got, because you look at their team last season and you think if Salah needs to be taken off or you replace Salah, you're looking at Danny Ings. They've improved that now. They've got Shaqiri in, so it's not as if they need to constantly play him. I think for Liverpool side of things, I think they'll be more relied upon at the back now. You think Trent Alexander-Arnold has learnt a lot. Rumours about who they're going to be signing in the defence. If they get another defender in, they've signed a keeper that knows how to use his hands. So I think for FPL perspective, the defenders will have a lot more usability. You think if Trent AA and Robertson get attacking down the wings, they could be phenomenal assets. With racking up the assists, and it will help. It will help Salah because now they've got. You think Naby Keita's come in. You've got Shaqiri coming in. You've got a few others coming in. I do feel like Liverpool are a lot stronger and got more depth to their team. So I do agree with what you're saying. Yeah.
We did have a message from at Dave07 Smith, so Momo. And he feeds into this. He was just asking, is Robertson essential now? Liverpool look like they fixed their goalkeeper problem. And he owns him, by the way. So do I, Mo, just to let you know. So he got 1 goal, 5 assists last season, I think. So he's a pretty kind of attacking defender, 10 clean sheets, so pretty good defensively. And now, obviously, like the guys have just covered, their defense has been bolstered. So they have West Ham, Crystal Palace, and Brighton up first. So pretty good run of games. And yeah, he had 12 shots on goal last season. So Robson is definitely in my team, and I don't think he'll be going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, technically that's only just over half a season as well, because I guess at the start of the season he wasn't nailed, was he? And now that he's after the second half of the season that he had, you know, he's clearly going to be nailed for the whole season, really. So he can only go beyond what he's done already, you know. So he should be worth the 6 million. And with Alisson coming in, you know, for the clean sheet points as well, it does make, if Trent can start, it makes him very appealing, and obviously Robertson even more so.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on Salah, Jay? Are you a salad eater or are you a salad dodger?
Just my brain went somewhere there. I can see Kurt's point because it has happened before, but I think there's also been cases where people have had breakout seasons and then it's continued. I think at his current ownership, Salah is too risky not to own. And the fact that if he doesn't have a great start, then about half the players don't have a great start. So it's not like you're risking massively by owning a 13 million player when his ownership is that high. And I think if you look at the type of goals that Salah scored, yes, a lot of team goals from Liverpool, but there were moments where it was just Salah magic. And a player that can produce that kind of moment, to me, is a player that should still be having maybe not as good a season as he had last season, but will still have a good season. And I think with the new signings, I think you've got Fabinho, who's going to now be that anchor in midfield, which probably allows the likes of Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold to even push forward even more, because Fabinho can drop back into, say, a back three when they're on the attack. I think you're going to see the likes of Salah and Mane maybe not have to even consider going out onto the wings, and it could be an even more dangerous side. But with that, you've got the possibility of goals being shared out. Salah could get man-marked, and then players like Mane, Firmino, Robertson, Trent Alexander-Arnold could all start getting even more points. So I can see Kurt's point, but there's no way I can't have Salah on my side when his ownership is that high.
Just quickly before. So Kurt, obviously you're concerned about Salah, that he couldn't.
We're all like, Kurt.
No. I've opened
You don't anger
Get out the pack.
Exactly. You don't anger a pack. Come on.
I want to know if Kurt owns him or not.
At the moment, no, I don't own him. Okay. I do have Mane and Firmino, because I think if you get 13 million for Salah, 9.5 for the two of them. I feel like if it's not going through Salah, normally it goes through the other two. So I feel like if Salah is to lose the amount of goals and they still score the amount of goals they did last season, it'll be picked up by those two. So I'm sticking with him. Further to my point, though, I think if you look at quickly, just to try and put my point into perspective, because it's a similar position, this one. Eden Hazard's best season for FPL, 233 points in 14 to 15. His next season, he scored 104. So that's a similar sort of position, a winger that was relied upon a lot. Moments of magic where you just have to sit back and go, he's the best player on this field, barring no one. No one's near him. And he was man-marked. People would go over and literally just foul him. And it still happens now. Hazard is the most targeted player. You think Alexis Sanchez, players like that are constantly targeted. Now they know what threat he is, rather than just sort of thinking, we can take him on getting skinned or getting skilled or outpaced by him. They'll just take him off the ball by any means necessary, and the smaller teams will look to do that, like it's the Hazard, and that could also stop him. So that's
Sergio
another
Ramos style.
Exactly, Sergio Ramos just break his arm.
The same happened for Mahrez too, because after he won Player of the Year, like he went anonymous for the second season, the season after. Granted, a lot of it was to do with the manager and the players weren't happy, but the fact is Mahrez went anonymous for like a season, and then he came back last year, so it can happen. They can have an amazing season, then have an off season, so it's not unheard of.
But then you've also got Kane, who's been the longest one season wonder we've ever seen. So
I suppose Kane's
it can work both ways.
He's more of a physical presence, Kane is, compared to a lot of the players you're mentioning that have got bullied out of games. Whereas if you think about trying to bully Kane out of a game, you need a pretty decent centre back to bully Kane out of a game. Whereas I think a lot of players could bully a player of the stature of Mohamed Salah or Eden Hazard out of the game.
I think just from my perspective, though, I'd still, with FPL, I tend to look at how I structure my team in placeholders. So for me, having that 13 million there seems far easier for me to downgrade to anybody effectively, because he's the most expensive in the game, than it is just in case he starts and does continue being, King Mo Salah, and me trying to have to squeeze him somehow back into my team, so that's just generally where I'm at with it. I'd rather have him there and know that I can downgrade that player to anybody and use that cash elsewhere, so it's just kind of where I'm standing with it.